The mission was already over. The shuttle was coming home. But the damage that doomed Columbia had happened on day one. The Space Shuttle Columbia disaster occurred on the 1st of February 2003 and marked one of the darkest moments in the history of space exploration, when the shuttle disintegrated during re-entry into Earth's atmosphere, killing all 7 astronauts on board and exposing deep, systemic failures in engineering judgment, organizational culture, and risk management that eerily echoed the lessons of the Challenger disaster nearly 2 decades earlier. Columbia was returning from mission STS-107, a 16-day scientific research mission that had gone largely as planned while in orbit, carrying a crew of 7 highly skilled astronauts: Rick Husband, William McCool, Michael Anderson, Kalpana Chawla, David Brown, Laurel Clark, and Ilan Ramon, the first Israeli astronaut. The mission launched on the 16th of January 2003 from Kennedy Space Center, and almost immediately after liftoff, a critical event occurred that would ultimately doom the shuttle. About 82 seconds into flight, a large piece of insulating foam broke away from the external fuel tank and struck the leading edge of Columbia's left wing at extremely high speed. Foam shedding was not a new or unexpected phenomenon. It had occurred on previous shuttle flights and had gradually become normalized as an accepted risk, despite engineers knowing it could be dangerous. In this case, however, the foam impact created a hole in the reinforced carbon-carbon panels that protected the wing from the intense heat of re-entry. At the time, no one knew the full extent of the damage. Engineers within NASA raised serious concerns in the days following the launch, requesting high-resolution satellite imagery or military assistance to inspect the wing for damage. But these requests were denied or dismissed by management, who believed there was nothing that could be done even if damage were confirmed. This assumption proved tragically wrong. Throughout the mission, Columbia's crew carried out their work unaware that their spacecraft had been fatally compromised. On the morning of February 1, 2003, Columbia began its re-entry as planned, traveling at more than 17,000 miles per hour. As it descended into the upper atmosphere, superheated air entered the hole in the damaged wing, melting the internal aluminum structure from the inside out. Sensors began recording unusual temperature and pressure readings in the left wing, but these were not immediately recognized as signs of catastrophic failure. As the damage worsened, the shuttle began to lose control, with asymmetric drag and heating causing it to yaw and roll uncontrollably. At approximately 9:59 a.m. Eastern Time, Columbia broke apart over Texas at an altitude of about 200,000 feet, scattering debris across multiple states. Unlike Challenger, which was destroyed in a sudden explosion shortly after launch, Columbia's destruction was gradual and silent, unfolding over several minutes as the vehicle was torn apart by aerodynamic forces. The loss of the crew devastated NASA, the United States, and the international space community, particularly because the accident was widely seen as preventable. The investigation that followed, conducted by the Columbia Accident Investigation Board, was one of the most thorough and brutally honest inquiries in aerospace history. The board concluded that the physical cause of the accident was the foam strike and subsequent wing damage, but it emphasized that the root causes were organizational and cultural. NASA had once again fallen victim to normalization of deviance, schedule pressure, communication breakdowns, and a management culture that discouraged dissenting engineering opinions. Engineers' warnings were minimized, uncertainty was treated as acceptable risk, and critical decisions were made based on assumptions rather than evidence. The board strongly criticized NASA's belief that foam strikes were a maintenance issue rather than a safety of flight concern, and it rejected the idea that nothing could have been done to save the crew, noting that options such as on-orbit inspection, repair, or rescue by another shuttle might have been possible if the damage had been properly understood. The Columbia disaster forced a painful reckoning. NASA grounded the shuttle fleet for more than 2 years and implemented sweeping changes, including redesigning the external fuel tank to reduce foam shedding, developing on-orbit inspection and repair capabilities, and fundamentally restructuring safety oversight to give engineers greater authority and independence. The agency also confronted the uncomfortable reality that it had failed to fully absorb the lessons of Challenger, despite publicly committing to cultural change after 1986. For the astronauts' families, the tragedy was compounded by the knowledge that warning signs had been present but not acted upon. Yet many of them became powerful advocates for ACO,